To understand discrimination in the workplace, we first need to understand the concept of a protected characteristic. A protected characteristic is a personal trait or attribute that the law says cannot be used as a reason to treat someone unfairly. In other words, employers cannot make decisions about hiring, promotions, discipline, pay, training opportunities, or termination based on these characteristics. When an employee is treated differently because of a protected characteristic, it may constitute unlawful discrimination. The most commonly recognized protected characteristics are found in laws such as Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, the Americans with Disabilities Act, and the Age Discrimination in Employment Act in the United States, as well as human rights codes across Canada. These protections cover characteristics such as race, color, national origin, ancestry, sex, gender identity, gender expression, religion, age, disability, and genetic information. Let's briefly look at some of these categories. Race and color protections prohibit employers from making decisions based on racial stereotypes, assumptions, or an employee's skin tone or complexion. These protections also extend to situations where an employee is treated differently because they associate with people of a particular race. National origin and ancestry protections prevent discrimination based on a person's ethnic background, birthplace, cultural heritage, or even characteristics closely associated with ethnicity, such as an accent. Employers generally cannot impose language restrictions unless there is a legitimate business reason, such as safety or operational necessity. Sex and gender protections cover much more than biological sex. They also include gender identity, gender expression, pregnancy, childbirth, and related medical conditions. Employees must not be disadvantaged because of these characteristics. Religion is another protected characteristic. Employees have the right to hold and practice their sincerely held religious beliefs without fear of discrimination, provided those practices do not create undue hardship for the employer. Age discrimination laws protect workers from being treated unfairly because of their age. In the United States, federal protection generally applies to workers aged 40 and older, while some jurisdictions provide broader protections. Disability protections apply to both physical and mental disabilities. The law not only protects individuals with actual disabilities, but may also protect people who have a history of a disability or who are mistakenly perceived as having one. Many jurisdictions have expanded their protections beyond these core categories. Depending on where you operate, protected characteristics may also include sexual orientation, marital status, family status, citizenship status, source of income, victim status, political affiliation, or certain lawful off-duty activities. For workplace investigators, protected characteristics are especially important because they often determine whether human rights obligations are triggered. When a complaint involves a protected characteristic, employers generally have a legal duty to investigate promptly and thoroughly. Investigators must carefully examine the evidence to determine whether a workplace decision was based on legitimate business reasons or whether discrimination may have played a role. Part of the investigator's job is identifying what is known as pretext. This occurs when an employer gives one explanation for a decision, but the evidence suggests the real reason may be discriminatory. Investigators must also be alert to unconscious bias and indirect discrimination. Even when a decision-maker appears neutral, liability can arise if they rely on information provided by someone who was motivated by bias. This is often referred to as the cat's paw theory of liability. Finally, investigators should avoid collecting information about protected characteristics unless it is directly relevant to the investigation. For example, if you are investigating a theft allegation, an employee's pregnancy, religion, or ethnicity is usually irrelevant and should not form part of the investigation record. Understanding protected characteristics helps investigators recognize potential discrimination issues, conduct fair and impartial investigations, and ensure that workplace decisions are based on facts rather than assumptions, stereotypes, or bias.